says that the organizer's job, as defined here in Alinsky's book, is to disseminate an invitation for himself to agitate, introduce ideas, impregnate people with hope, a desire for change, and identify you as a person most qualified for that purpose. Now here's something we're dealing with today. Policy after power. And the more I read this section, the more I saw the implementation of what's going on here. People do not know what they want, according to Alinsky. You have no idea what you want. Okay? Because we're the intellectual superiors, we're going to tell you what you want. The messages are incomplete. Their scholarly elitism knows no bounds. The best organizer shows faith in the people outwardly, but inside does not trust you to make any judgments for yourself. In a republic government like we have today, a community organizer is going to have a very hard time because decisions are made by the people. That just won't stand. That's why you're going to see a tremendous number of political directives coming down, executive orders, because he'll try it to keep you happy to get what he wants, but he'll go right to an executive order. That's why we're seeing the federal funding of abortions right now. We're seeing all the things that we said. Because it's right here in Alinsky. He says that life and death issues are soon forgotten by people. You start a program today, these are quotes, to fix an issue. Then you change the program where power has been built. Sound familiar? The stimulus, healthcare, immigration, financial reform of today. Healthcare goes to healthcare for illegals, state funding for abortions, etc. All change is diluted as to not cause fear. You can keep your health insurance, you can keep your doctor, etc. And the rules change once power is pursued. Sorry about this. The process of power. The organizer lives and breathes building his power base. Recruit, recruit, recruit. We saw this with Acorn. Change comes from power. Power comes from the organization, according to Alinsky. The organizer builds confidence, hope in his organization, and the people involved in it. We can do so much with what we have, not just what we think we have, but what others think we have, to look bigger than they are. The steps to build power, of course, is to disrupt the existing community organization, to rub raw the emotions, provide a channel which people can angrily pour in their frustrations, an organization to create issues and problems, keep the opponent off balance and reactive, of tactics, doing what you can with what you have, according to Alinsky. How the have-nots take power from the haves. They use their eyes. They parade visibly before their enemy, such as, let's talk about the people that were standing in front of the poll booths with the nightsticks, etc. There's just two of them, but it intimidated a lot of people. They use their ears. If they're small in number, they're going to raise a loud noise, so you know that they're there. And then there's this one where they talk about using your nose. And he kind of has a gross story in his book. And I'll break this up a little bit and tell it to you real quick. During the Kodak Revolution, he was going to try to make a scene. And so he knew that these Kodak board of directors liked to go to the symphony. And so he bought a bunch of tickets to the symphony. Found as many as he could. And he had a dinner for the have-not people that he thought were have-nots in his community. And he fed them a big baked bean dinner. Then he put them in the theater. Yeah. So he says, use your nose and sneak up the place. So I don't know, you know. Just an aside, just an aside. Power is what your enemy thinks you have. Avoid confusion, fear, retreat of your people. Never go outside your people's experience, but keep your enemy always outside of their experience. How many people here are outside of their experience now in their lives? You feel like you're walking around and you have no idea what in the world is going on? Like the whole world's been turned upside down? It's purposeful. It's built for that. He says to ridicule. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon. How about the officer acting stupidly? Use ridicule at all points. People must have a ball doing these tactics. He wants people to have a good time going out there turning our world upside down, I guess. But the big deal here is on tactics is to keep the pressure on. Multiple issues all the time, constantly. So people, what I'm telling you is, if we come and win our election in November, nothing's going to change. It's going to get worse. A lot worse. because you're going to see it come even faster than it is now. I mean, we've already been at a point right now where we've had healthcare debate, we've had financial reform, we've had the auto industry bailout, we've had the bank bailout, we've had all this stuff going on, right? And what comes right behind it is immigration reform and cap and trade. It's right behind it, right? And that's the technique of Saul Alinsky. He says you push through negatives. You push negatives to get the positive on the other side. You say people are suffering, so you must give up. You must give up what you have. You have too much. People are suffering. But the idea isn't to help the people that are suffering. The idea is to gain power inside of themselves. He says, never get trapped in a sudden agreement with the enemy. Alinsky always says that the price of a successful attack is a constructive alternative. So in Alinsky's world, the techniques that these people know, they will never agree with the other side. The votes will always go down, right down party lines. They're always going to disagree because it's their way or the highway. One thing he says about power tactics that you see every single day with this administration and the people that are progressives, they pick a target, they freeze the target, they personalize the target, they polarize the target. Have we not seen that across the board? Right now, the Tea Party is part of that. Right now, we're being froze. We're being polarized. They're working very hard and fast to do this. They're trying to make us vulnerable. It also says you have to make this personal. You have to pick out a person. So we've seen this with former President Bush. Everything was the last 8 years. You know, nothing happened since then, right? The issues that are raised have to be polarizing. Abortion, immigration, healthcare, cap and trade. You're not going to see them argue about parking signs in Washington. They're not going to argue about little things. Every issue is going to be bigger than the next. He says to laugh at your enemy. Now this is one I'll bring up to you that he says a lot about. I sent an email out on this and I didn't get much of a response on it, but I think we need to think about it in the Tea Party movement. Alinsky's tactics that he teaches his people, a big one is stool pigeons. You got to have stool pigeons and infiltrators inside of your organization to stir trouble, to keep us off balance, to keep us doing and looking other ways. And this I kind of have some problems with petition movements because it directs us away from recruitment, and it really bothers me. Finally, the way ahead. I don't want to go this guy's way, but we're being forced into it. How many people here see that right now you're living through this? You are living this every day. So this book was written in 1971, and I had to kind of crack up how true this thing is today. To organize the white middle class with guilt leads to social change. Organize those committed to change. Alinsky says the true organizer, or believe it or not, in the book he calls them the one. I just thought it was hysterical because I overused that. Will come from the middle class. He says his middle class identity, his familiarity with the values and the problems are invaluable for organization of his own people. He can be effective in communication, tactics, creating issues, and creating organization. He says in 1971 his first job is to bring hope. Amazing. Second is to spread redistribution message through PTAs, League of Women Voters, churches, consumer grassroots colleges, etc. Alinsky warns the one to start out easy and don't scare them off. Get corporations to accept redistribution and to forget the private sector for the collective, for collective salvation. This was Alinsky's great American dream. I conclude with this picture. Here's a picture of our current president teaching as an adjunct professor in Chicago, teaching law class. And he's teaching a class on the principles of social justice. And that is right out of the Alinsky book. University of Chicago Law School. So I asked her with the question, tell me what you do now. Is our current situation, are we in a clear present danger? You decide tonight.